podcast. This is a podcast that touches on different types of businesses. And this is going to be a podcast where we're in the COVID-19 era. So please excuse any noises that you might hear, any barking dogs or screaming children. The lovely host we have to my left, I guess it's going to be my left. We have Michelle Wong, our host. We have Relisha Gibson and Desiree Kinney. And our special guest today that we have is, she's an actress, comedian, and model. Her modeling career took off when she appeared on the cover of Glamour and walked the runway for multiple designers, including Yves Saint Laurent and Alexander McQueen. Wow, that's incredible. She transitioned into acting and appeared in such films as Bad Moms, Romantic, Dirty Grandpa, and The Gentleman, and many more. So everyone, please welcome Eugenia Kuzmina. How are you?
Hello. Hi, so great. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you. Connection here.
No worries. I completely understand. Yes.
So ladies, which one do you want to start with in our segment? Eugenia, before we even start with the segment, tell us a little bit more about yourself. I know that you have a very interesting background. You came from Russia, so tell us more about that.
For sure. It's one of the hardest topics to talk about myself. Usually, as an actor, you about, the characters or something like that. But just overall a little bit, I think everybody has a story. And Russia, Siberia, grew up in Moscow. My dad is a nuclear scientist, so have nothing to do with modeling. Don't come from a background of actors or entertainment at all. Grew up in food lines. We actually had no food in food lines, so I'm very familiar with the current situation that's happening in America with stores. Kind of got out of Russia at 15, started modeling, was, hired by an agency in New York, had 3 kids, and somehow landed in the middle of Hollywood, not because I was planning to, but I married my husband and was a producer, and he runs a studio, so I kind of, landed in the middle of entertainment business, and here we are.
But that's interesting. I mean, I guess for the most part, we all, I guess, as either children or teenagers, we never really know where we're going to land in the future. So that's like an interesting, it's an interesting story how as a teenager, you kind of got discovered and went into modeling, went international, and here you are, years in the entertainment industry. You're also a comedian, so there's a lot that other people can be inspired by your story, especially young girls that can view you as a role model where they can see that it's possible, right?
Well, I do have a question for you.
So it wasn't something that you planned out, it kind of led you to.
It blinked out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's something about this connection today that's just really freaky.
Yeah. Well, I know you mentioned your dad was a nuclear scientist. So were your parents supportive when you got into modeling and acting? You were like, go to America and pursue. Or did they embrace it? Or were they like, what? Are you crazy? It's not what you're supposed to be doing. How was that for you with your parents?
Not at all. Actually was not very supportive because there was no entertainment business in Russia. And, I grew up in the end of 90s, and it was just kind of Soviet Union when American companies maybe started coming, but there was no really business. There was a lot of kind of propaganda on 4 channels and, Soviet, very different system. So they were worried that I would be trafficked to dance on the table somewhere, because you can hear those stories, it's true. You never know. Approaches you on the street. But the fact is, I lost my dad when I was 15, actually, and I had to become a breadwinner for my family. So, there was no way. I knew that there was a lot of corruption. So I knew education would be hard for me to achieve. And, I go on the street literally and work and earn, money for my family and kind of deal with a lot of adult things like renting my, apartment and paying taxes and signing contracts.
Right. Well, I guess I'll go first and get into my segment. I'm really meet you, by the way. I'm also a mompreneur, so I was super excited to see that we had another mom in business on today. You're our first mompreneur for this new season of Work Your Money. So you can kind of really just kind of tell us about how that is for you, like as a mom, balancing and business. Tell us about your kids. How do you incorporate all of those different things with your mom?
It's interesting because I come from completely different business system. Like in Russia, it was communism, obviously, so I didn't have a good money education. And I think it's so important, like, to teach my kids to have that, ability. Like, they get rewarded for doing small tasks every time, helping the bad and things like that. Right. And I think for a lot of models, they don't also have education. We get paid so much and you just waste the money. Like, you are not taught to invest. And that's what, I tried also to teach my kids. And my husband is really good at business, so he's very helpful to educate us. I think it's hard, to combine being a mom and working. But there's always creative ways that we find.
Right. So I seen that you also have your own. Is it a show? Is it like a podcast? They're Model Mom TV. Tell us a little bit more about that and like what that's all about.
Yeah, I have a patent now, actually. So I started it as a blog and kind of an inspiration. And, being a mom, I really wanted to get back to work, but I really struggled to kind of find other mothers who had that like busy schedule, for mothers. And I wanted to find community, as everybody I think does. Right. So I started this blog kind of supporting, talking about how they do their work and pursue their passion, not only just, surviving, but actually striving and, growing on the way, and kind of helped me, like, their tips as well. So it's really great to have the community.
I wanted to actually chime in for a second. Eugenia, very honored to have you. And sorry, we're just going to say I'm about to steal her thunder. But
no, go ahead.
Happy early Mother's Day. No, but I actually wanted to come because one of my favorite movies is Bad Moms.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw that you were in it. And it's funny, I used that clip in my women's presentation to show that women, the tagline, like, women doing it all. There's been a lot of controversy over whether that's possible. And the former CEO of Pepsi said she doesn't believe it's possible. But one of my favorite clips is Mila, when she, like, everything goes wrong. Like, she spills her coffee, she ruins her outfit, she's late for her occasion. And she just, like, at the end was like she was just about to collapse. And I thought it was, like, the funniest thing I've ever seen. And I love Mila and I love that movie. Glad you're in it. So my question for you is, like, same theme and I guess logic of juggling it all. Like, do you think women can do it all, or do you think that's an unhealthy perspective? Because when you factor in health and wellness, is it subtracting away from finding a balance? And should women believe in the power of no?
Yeah, absolutely. I so agree with you. I think it's a very dangerous to do it all. It installs perfectionism, the idea of that. Right. And it's just humanly impossible. And I started doing comedy because through comedy you can see the imperfection and the vulnerability. And I think it's very important. We grew kids like in tribes, so you can't do it all by yourself. You have to have the ability to ask for help, and it's not going to be perfect. You can fail, and it's okay. How do you deal with that? Like, you're going to be late for your work sometimes, and sometimes you're going to mess up with the kids and like forget them in school, which happens, or other things. And the thing is, like, you can't judge yourself if you have really high expectations of doing it all. it's just a lot of stress. And like you say, you know, it's really important, and you have to forgive yourself and kind of laugh at that and move on,
Right.
and, you know, have a conversation. But a lot of times it's like women put pressure of like, yeah, I would all make cookies perfectly from scratch, and also like do all the presentations and, you know, be on time, and, you know.
Right. So for you right now, are your kids school age?
Yes, they're homeschooling, so you
Okay,
know,
right. So that's like a thing in itself. Like, have you found yourself kind of like going crazy as far as trying to stick to a schedule, or, you know, be on task, feeling guilt? Am I doing it? Am I not doing enough?
of
You know,
course.
like just crazy. Like I have 2 toddlers, so although they're only kindergarten preschool, so, you know, they still have their day-to-day daily things. And I'm like, as I've been talking to, you know, different moms and my, you know, support group and my network and my friends, it's like everybody is like, I'm over, it's just a lot, it's so much pressure. So how has homeschooling been going for you during quarantine?
Well, it's so funny because I have a group of moms also, you know, and we're all in the chat, and it's funny how like all the moms became comedians suddenly, and their jokes are so good because, you know,
Right.
like I think humor comes, you know, desperation,
Right.
and I think day to day is very different. And it's so funny, my son is graduating, he's going to middle school, so, you know, we had to get a suit for him like last minute for a graduation video. And, you know, yeah, there's some good days and bad days, and, you know, it's important to talk to kids and kind of connect to them and see how
Right.
they feel, and they get over when it goes day to day also.
Right. And I'm glad that, Des, you brought up the like bad moms. Like that movie is such, you know, like I feel like that's like the other side of parenting. Like she said, when she meant like perfectionism. When I started Moms Who Grind, a big part of my platform was that I wanted moms to be able to unwind, to not be able to be so serious, to be able to have it. So like I'm having a bad day today. Like today I really don't want to do this mom thing. Like, or I'm not cooking dinner today. We're eating pizza or whatever it is, but not having the guilt of it. So I love Bad Moms also because I just thought that it was so funny. And in reality, there's more moms like that than there are moms that are perfect mothers, because there's no perfect way. There is really no manual being a at all. Like
So
you just by the day by day, and your kids change, they grow, they evolve so much. So but when you think you got it out, then they do some new stuff and you're like, wait, what? When did you start doing that? So that's definitely a day to day. But that's pretty right in the segment. My segment is called Mom Your Business. Thank you so much, Eugenia, for sharing, you know, about your family and your personal life with all things mom. So I just love, and I'm so excited that we get to talk to you, and, you know, we get to vibe out and share our mommy stories.
for sure, would research your, you know, your platform. Really
Yes,
curious
likewise.
about it. Yeah, and just to add, Bad Moms was such an amazing set. There was no, you know, every mom like had like a kid, so we all just worked really hard, and like it was super good atmosphere.
Right.
Yeah, thanks.
Yay. So I guess that segues into my segment. I love Moms Who Grind. So it really inspires me. And I will say transparently, I'm not a mom yet, but I can't wait because I love taking care of people. I feel so, like when I have the days and when I'm not with my family, I'm very empty. I love taking care of people. I love being a nurturer. So I'm really excited to you ladies, Eugenia and Relisha, you inspire me. So I'll be bugging you for tips, mom tips. I'm really excited to have you on, Eugenia, also because I love following female comedians. So I was really excited just because you guys are breaking the mold. I've seen Sarah Silverman live, Angela Johnson. Michelle, I know she's a big fan of Angela Johnson too. I cannot pronounce her last name for my life, but Eliza.
Oh yeah.
Yes, she has a new skit show. So like, it's really great. It's kind of like, you know, a bunch of random. I watched the whole thing straight, and I was like, "Wow, Eugenia's a comedian too." Like, what don't you do? It's pretty inspiring. So, I wanted to actually ask you about comedy. You know, just what was your motivation and inspiration? You already had this amazing career with modeling and acting and whatnot. So what made you say, you know what, I'm pretty I should do something with this?
You know, it didn't come from that. I never was, like, nobody ever called me funny whatsoever. But it came from trying to find my voice, actually. It's interesting because, you know, in modeling, basically you sell products. So, you know, people project a lot of things and, like, you know, they're like, you basically don't have anything to say in a lot of ways, you know, unless you produce. And, you know, there are great models who like own brands that, you know, become entrepreneurs, like Cindy Crawford. So when I got into acting, I found that in Hollywood, there's not enough diversity to have an accent. I mean, now it's getting better, and hopefully it will get even better, you know, the storytelling and the characters we portray. But I fell into the box playing on the Russian spies, or, like, you know, gold diggers. So it was really hard, and I'm like, I can be a romantic lead, but they said no. I mean, it's changing now. I really, you know, there's a lot of amazing women producers also, and creators and shows. I'm in a film called Fading Gigolo with Woody Allen, and, you know, I found out that he's doing comedy. We shot our scene at Carlisle where he, like, plays jazz and performs. And I was looking to do a play, and I couldn't find a play with, like, a lot of Russian actors also. So he said, like, why don't you try stand-up? It's your voice. It's a narrative that you can create. You're not depending on anybody, and you can start a conversation. And I had no idea how to write anything, and especially, you know, English is my third language. Basically, I speak French also.
Oh, wow.
So I approached the writer who worked for Letterman. He's very Corley, and he has 5 kids now, so he's, like, helping a lot of comedians to kind of establish, you know, their food, and even corporations to, like, how to write jokes. It's really interesting. It's almost like math and music. And I learned what makes, you know, people laugh. Like, there's a lot of psychology and, you know, different things. So, and it's fascinating. It's never edited. So whenever you do a performance live, the audience gives you a feedback, and it's all about just being vulnerable and saying things, and, you know, talking about topics that usually people.
And I find it intriguing that it's storytelling, right?
Exactly.
As I'm watching these long specials, I'm like, wow, they just told stories after stories. They bring you in, and you feel like you're, oh my God, and then you're dying of laughter because it feels so real. So I just wanted to commend you on that. And pardon me for not properly reintroducing myself, but it's women who rock in business. I know Michelle said that earlier, and the reason I did that is people were following me on social media with Women in Business Rock, and you know, I'm all about being all inclusive. I want to highlight women and men, because the reality is when we come together, we can have a more powerful outcome. I do believe men are, through your last, words, you said there were a few men that you had dropped, like Woody Allen and David Letterman. Like, so these are all men that have been positive influences in your life. But right now, I think what's on everyone's minds, it's obviously COVID-19 or coronavirus, depending on how because say the proper way, it's COVID. I'm like, it's still bad, no matter what way you flip it. But everyone's trying to figure out, as they're calling it, the new normal. How are you? I'm really asking this question to really get your insight on how are you surviving and how are you thriving, right? Because there's the first piece, which is maintaining, you know, my business. You have a very strong, clearly personal brand in the industry, but right now it's challenging. So it's like, how are you continuing to keep your brand alive, maintain relationships, right? So it's via virtual platforms that you're really building those connections now through Zoom and social media. So just curious, have you felt like you're growing in that sense, or do you feel, yeah, you know what, I'm comfortable, I'm confident, but maybe things will kick off later? Or do you have any feedback on how you've been keeping your business afloat and your brand alive?
Well, it's actually very busy still. It's interesting. Like, it never actually stopped, because I find it fascinating. I just will find a way to tell this story no matter what the platform is. So a lot of times we do shows, comedy clubs, on Zoom, and it's been pretty interesting. Of course, we figure out technical things, but I think it only shows that you can be perfect. And our modeling agency, they have all these creative ways to shoot, editorials, like through FaceTime, and it's just fascinating, And for example, you can do virtual makeup, like a makeup artist. I never did my makeup in my life. And she taught me how to do all these amazing looks on like Instagram Live, and things like that. And it's all, obviously, it's a lesson, and it's free or by donation. So, you adjust to kind of course, you want to help, you want to tell stories. Actually, I saw one of the directors, Paul Feig, he started the show, like teaching cocktails on Instagram. Super funny. That's how I kind of do my episodes by Zoom, and then we edit everything, so editors are really busy. Films and just the nature of entertainment is changing. I think the most important skill is to be flexible and, adjust in these times. So there's creative ways to figure out. And there's a lot of, there's a company that Lucasfilm started, and I think they use it in Star Wars, where it's digital backgrounds. So they can do that, sometimes they can drop a mic to you and you can do a real show. That's what Facebook is doing. And we're planning to do a charity show like that. So it's really interesting. You can do things with green screen. So now, of course, you need to learn skills like, production and like directing yourself and things like that, and lighting. Everybody's getting lighting for their Zoom things and, backgrounds. But I think you can find creative ways to survive and actually strive to.
I love a few themes so much that you just pointed out that it's in my mind. I just want to reiterate to everyone. I actually just saw, I got chills when you said that, Eugenia, because I just saw a movie where they referenced, I can't remember the movie right now, but they said very profoundly, an artist will always find a way to express themselves, right? And they were saying whether they're singing or they're writing, we always find a way. And I was like, oh, that's so true. So I love that you said that. And I also love second point that you said, being able to navigate and be flexible, right? So one big theme that I hear a lot at women's empowerment conferences, it's be able to pivot, right? Because you don't know what circumstances will be thrown at you, and you want to always remain confident of yourself, of your brand, your identity, and how you show up in the world. So whether you're showing up in person, showing up virtual, just remember you have a network around you. I always reference your board of directors. I think it's really important to have your champions that will vouch for you no matter what and have your back. And with that being said, I wanted to also just ask you, for someone that would like to get where you are, right? Your level of success. I can see you're very humble, but as you can see from all of us, we're in admiration of you and all you've accomplished, and you're still you have a long way to go, right? You're still young. So for someone who's looking to break into the industry, whether it's music, acting, comedy, any form of entertainment, what would you say for them if they're stuck right now and they're like, oh my gosh, it's COVID-19. I can't, this isn't even possible. I should just let it go. What would you say to that person?
Well, specifically if it's acting, because they're different industries, that's the thing. Like if you're a model, like it doesn't translate into acting, because the most important is having skills. And now it's actually great time. There's a lot of casting directors that, have time. It's not like a show season, so they're really open to watching monologues. I know a lot of actors record their monologues and send it. So it's a great way to connect. I think people always, looking for that. So, I think most important is to have skills, no matter what you do, no matter which profession you are. Focus on that and not the desperation to actually your ego and, oh, I'm at that point of, success or whatever, because there's never like an end to it, and your journey is going to go up and down. Like one day you're successful, one day you have problems, but, you can reinvent yourself in so many ways. I think the most important is to focus on skills, what you love doing, and ask yourself why you want to do that. And, there's always a way to connect and be of service also. I think it's so important, for anybody to know. Talking about humbleness, I think, that's one of the skills, gratefulness and humbleness that, connects us in so many ways.
I love that. I actually start my day, no matter if I forget in the morning and I forget to see, that's the whole thing. Like it's not about it's not about being perfect. It's about getting it done. I don't know if you guys know that. And so if I don't start my day with the 5 things I'm grateful for, I end the day with the 5 things I'm grateful for. And I really, really do love that. One final thing I wanted to wrap up with for the women and men who rock in business segment, which today is the woman who rocks in business segment. Who's had the biggest, impact on your life and has been the most inspirational for you? And if you don't have like a specific person, do you have an inspirational quote or book or something that you'd like to share with the fans and the viewers today?
Sure. I never had like icons. I don't believe in that, but I was always inspired by my dad because being a scientist, he was always curious, like never stopped at logic. Like he loved poetry, and we grew up with artists, and he just instilled that curiosity. It's the most important thing to learn in life and never stop learning new things. And that's how you stay young and for a long time. So you can see people who are like 90 and they have the same mind, never stop learning and are curious and connecting to others. So I think that's an inspiration for me. That was my dad. And I love the book, The Hero's Journey, because it's just a very profound book by Joseph Campbell, that's what it is.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. That concludes my segment. I'm looking forward to connecting with you, and it was an honor to interview today.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Good luck with everything. Very inspiring too, as well, your platform.
So, Eugenia, I do apologize. My internet is a little wonky, so I got bits and pieces of everything. Mm-hmm. But the most that I got away from everything that is being said through you is innovation is always the key to always adapting to whatever situation comes your way. Sure. I think we as individuals, as humans, we have to learn to adapt to whatever is in our surroundings, and especially when it comes to the business aspect of things. Right now we're in a situation where we're on a standstill. Most are on lockdown. Obviously, we can't really go and do anything. So we have to adapt to that. We have to find creative, real outside of the box ways of trying to still conduct business. The entertainment industry, the music industry, they're all in the same situation. And I've seen that technology has played a big role for us to be able to do things even without being outside per se, physically be outside to do the things we normally do, and this has allowed us to utilize that. So my question is, obviously innovation is a big component. So how, apart from everything else, have you utilized innovation overall, with your business? How have you, tried to connect other people, potential like clients or people that you can engage with?
Well, the first thing I did, I got a green screen. So I started my sketches with a green screen, and I learned how to do that. And that's still available. You can get that. I started doing shows on Zoom, and then you can record it, you can edit it, so it can become an episode. You can utilize different platforms like Patreon. That's a great platform. And there's a lot of different platforms like Facebook Live. They're doing things where, for example, my makeup artist friend, she does lessons, and you also get paid for some of them. So, different businesses, they're just transitioning online. We do different lessons in live. You can connect to somebody and, teach them different things. That's the way I do my Model Mom episodes. And we shot already an editorial distancing, through like FaceTime, and I did my own makeup, so yeah, there are different ways, different platforms.
Awesome. And you previously you mentioned about your husband and how he's also in the industry. Have ever like worked together on projects, or like have you worked together business, or is it like two separate things that you both do?
No, we work together on some projects where like it's so nice, so much nicer, to work on some things. He's in production, and he taught me a lot of production side and business side of show business, because of course I didn't grow up with that education as much. He taught me a lot about, how to put a movie and, how to put all these little parts. It's one of the hardest things. I'm really inspired for a lot of women who are producing their own narratives. And I think it's really innovative and important to have your own production company for actor, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the most part, I think that goes hand in hand. No, I ask because in past segments, I've interviewed husband and wife, and they are in business together. So I always ask, like, oh, what are the good things working together? And for the most part, it's always been positive. Like, they love working together. They're in business together. So I just wanted to know dynamics. Like, is it something that you guys do frequently, or is it something that is just collaborative on certain projects? Like I was, just because of knowing like the husband and wife dynamic, how that kind of like holds on the business side.
I mean, our skills are very different, because he's not an actor. Like, I'm an actor, and he runs a studio. But sometimes I write jokes about him, and he's actually okay with it. Like, he's writing the husband jokes for me sometimes.
Tell us one.
Like,
we want to hear about your husband. No.
Well, no, that's cool. Having a humor is to have the ability to poke fun of yourself, and and the people are okay that it's not with the ill intention. It's more of just making light of whatever circumstances that are around us,
Mm-hmm.
So I totally, definitely have to have a sense of humor, being able to just poke fun of, of every, actually, having a husband, and same thing with a husband with a wife. It's a mutual thing. It's cool that he definitely, helps you with the whole comedy material.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes.
Led, do you have anything that you want to ask?
Well, you know what? As I'm listening, there was one question that I have, and being that we're all in, that we're all like staying in place and working from home, we're now finding ourselves in an environment where we're all working. Our days are pretty much where we can't get away from, can't get away from our kids, or or we find ourselves working a little bit harder because of the fact that we're working at home. So, how what ways as a business person are you finding it to to decompress at the end of the day, so that I've talked to some people who are they might carry the stress onto the next day. There's a lot of stress, of course, going on with the things that are happening, but how would you how do you decompress from from a busy day? Maybe of course being indoors every day now, but from working from home. But how did what methods, or are there any exercises, or excuse me, or any routines that you have to really bring things down to the end of the day and relax?
I think it's important to take a break from the computer, because we're so much on the computer these days. So I try to take breaks in between, my sessions, and I love meditating. My husband and I, we go to silent retreat actually every year, and we're silent for 10 days, and it's incredible. you come with, when there's so many creative ideas, and also you kind of reflect and work through that. So I think meditation, it's not easy, but different kind of meditations, guided meditations, and music meditations and silent meditations. So I think it's mindfulness is something that I'm constantly working, being conscious of being present. I'm lucky because I can hug my kids, so I have that human connection. I know it's pretty tough for alone. I have a friend actually in Palo Alto, and he has downloaded an app of like a fish tank or something, and he watches this fish to decompress. So there are different ways, I think, to do that. But yeah, I mean, for me, this is pretty important, and just like that human touch, if it's possible.
Eugenia, I was actually going to comment because I don't know if you follow Jay Shetty. He's like
Mm-hmm.
one of my. Do you follow him, Jay Shetty?
I think so. I have to check.
Actually, he's so amazing because his wife actually is very inspirational. But he leads a virtual meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's weekly. Because I tuned in live during work breaks just briefly, even if I couldn't have the chance to meditate, there's something very soothing and relaxing about, the way he speaks and the way he brings people together. And he's been on the news and media for doing this because he said, even during this time, exactly what you said, meditation is key, if not more than ever. And they're like, the newscasters are like, well, I mean, how can people really, meditate during a time like this with everything going on? He's like, that's why they need it, so they can feel more grounded. And like you said, mindfulness. I've actually a mindfulness coach on a community television show, and she talked about how she had to apply it to her own life after she went through like an insane separation from her ex-husband, and her job wasn't working out, and she just felt like everything was falling apart. And she said it helped. It was like the glue that other. So I've always been intrigued, and I'm still learning more about it. And ironically, I meditated for the first time in California myself with a group of people, and it was one of the most powerful experiences. I was one of those I don't believe it in it. It's not, I can't sit calm like that. I'm high energy. I'm New York, hustle and bustle. But when I did that meditation in California, it was honestly, it touched my life. Like I never thought, and being around a group of people when you're doing it, self-med also extremely powerful, but I never thought I'd be able to connect in that way. So I really love that you said that, because I think a lot of people could learn, especially during COVID-19, businesses, entrepreneurs, everyone that seemingly working more than normal and in this new normal and more stressed out because there isn't a real divide between work and home. So that home is being screwed. I agree with you. I think being able to set the time, and like you said, with your significant others, or maybe with your family, depending on how old your children are, maybe they can join with you. So that's really powerful that you said that.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's small tips. My friend who is also a yoga teacher said that, about grounding, sometimes it's just to take your shoes off. I don't know if you wear shoes at home, but it's good to barefoot, and whenever we have a chance to go, to work barefoot to kind of ground yourself, or do exercises if you're really high energy, just move your body and try to stretch or do whatever physically out of your head.
Yeah, I love that. I'm actually learning virtual Samba, right? Like Samba virtually rather now. It's challenging, but it's been a way to make sure I stay active during these times. So encourage everyone, take your dance classes.
So do you have you do so many different things, but is there something that you prefer over the other? So do you prefer comedy over modeling, or acting over, or do you just love everything equally?
Not really. I never wanted to kind of do one thing. I like to do projects and work with amazing artists. That's key to kind of committing to something. People who are like inspirational and have stories to tell, and who inspire me personally too. And that's how anything that I do, and I love learning new skills all the time, so I don't have one thing over the other. It's more about like the vision of the project and what it's going to do to maybe help or add to somebody else's life value rather than wasting time.
No,
so
that's a very key thing. Like I feel like mindfulness and intent, having the right intentions go kind of hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Projects and just anything in general, not It doesn't even be applied for just home life, just having intentions, setting your day, you know, when you wake up, have intentions for that day of things that you want to get accomplished. I think that's like a very important thing that I try to implement. Like, so I'm not just doing a bunch of things all day without it really having a purpose or getting things accomplished, because you can just busy without really accomplishing things. And then another thing that I wanted to mention was how important has it been that you have multiple sources of income? I feel like, you know, now in business and even like on social media, that has been a thing now, a topic that people tend to talk about a lot, but a lot of people don't necessarily know how to have multiple sources of income or the importance. So I'm sure, like, for now, with all of the things going on with the COVID, for you, multiple incomes has been, you know, definitely a plus. Haven't had to rely just on one thing, and now you can utilize other platforms. So how has that, and why is that important to you?
Yeah, of course, you know, having skills, just life survival skills. A lot of people are getting laid off. I have some photographer friends, and it's been hard for them. And one of my photographer friends started cooking and started a blog, you know, completely different skill. And now she's working with a celebrity, planning to write a book. So, you know, it's been interesting.
Right.
Like, I think staying positive is important. For artists, as I mentioned, there's a great, you know, platform called I learned about it a long time ago. There's many different social platforms where, you know, you can earn the income for the skills that you provide.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think it goes back to Michelle's point around innovation, right? So this is the time for, if you're, you know, in the corporate world and you want to be entrepreneurial, now's the time. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to be multi-entrepreneurial and have many different businesses, you know, and I think people are, like you said, they're receptive to the idea. I actually had a good friend / client, she became both, who's a fashion designer, and she is now further pushing her cooking business. Another one who I'm like, what don't you do? You know, it's like she's kind of is a Jill of all trades. And this is a good time because also people want to support small business owners. I, on the side, you know, I'm finance by day, hence the business segment, but I am a ambassador for Fashion Mass, you know?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So it's a time where people are, you know, they need something to feel excited about. And I had an overwhelming amount of women say, this is really good, because not only are the masks, you know, obviously of use, right? Because people shortage of masks, you know, obviously we've heard with the hospitals and medical workers. So it's good that people are creating it for kind of like for everyone else. But the good thing is every mask that's sold is donated to someone in need, right? So there's that charitable component of it, which has a positive outlook. But I'm like, what if I never thought I'd have to wear a mask, let alone sell it? But it actually has become a side project of mine. So there's so many things that I agree with you can help. And I love that Relisha brought that up, just being able to be multifaceted and really think about new and fresh, innovative ways to make sure yourself and or your families. So
For sure.
Awesome. So my question to you, various projects. My question to you is there any new projects that you would like to share with the audience that you're currently working on, or you're ready to, you know, just give us insight of what you're working on now?
Yeah, of course. I'm actually having a session, like Instagram session right after this. With the creator of LA Italia. He's you know, producer from Italy. So we're going to talk about cinema and like the future of entertainment and things like that. I finished shooting Spy City. It's a TV series that was shot in Prague. And it's with Dominic Cooper. It's pretty incredible. Very, you know, talented cast and directors. And I'm glad that we finished it before quarantine. Sure, I have a lot of projects that we're supposed to start filming in April. One is a romantic comedy, and I'm supposed to sing. So I'm glad that I have more time to practice that skill, because that's like a really hard skill. I never sang in my life publicly before. And I have a few and I'm supposed to be on tour with comedians, and we're supposed to go all around the country. Obviously it's delayed, but we're doing it virtually and it's pretty incredible. It's called Nobody's Funny Tour and it's a few girl comedians, and we travel around.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome. So Led has been a little bit quiet.
I've been listening. I've been thoroughly educated in this entire podcast. It's awesome. But I have one question.
So Led, yeah.
No, I had just one question, and it's like it's one thing that like I've always had this challenge with ever since college, and I think I've entertained this thought in my head just for a few for a little while, but I just wanted to ask you, Eugenia, when you're on stage, when you're doing stand up, and your stand up performances are pretty awesome, by the way, because how as far as presenting yourself to an audience, like how is that from the I guess the stage fright or whatever. It's like how to for a person who's trying to get into that line of business, what advice would you have for somebody who's looking to get into stand-up comedy or just even presenting themselves?
It's incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for asking. You get frozen a little bit, so I'm not sure when I should answer.
I'm getting a little bit of the wonky connection too. It's a little crazy.
No worries. So, when I started stand-up comedy, I was terrified. The first time you go, you don't know what's happening, so it kind of goes good anyway. Then my second show, Industry Insiders, and I just wanted them to laugh so much. I had so much expectations, and I completely bombed. And I was, it's devastating. It's, and then I went through that. I think every comedian goes through this journey of realizing that it's not about them, it's about the audience. So when you come up, it's almost like a spiritual thing, there's something that goes through me, and I'm always just help for whatever, is happening in the audience. And it's always about the audience. You never know who's there, but if you really kind of grab yourself and connect to them, you don't need to say anything. You kind of feel,
Right.
what people need and what do they want to talk about. And that's how the conversation from a humble point of view, rather than hey, look at me and laugh at me. So you have to kind of leave that behind.
Right. Do you still get nervous?
Not really. I mean, the amazing thing is once we started going on tour, it really opened up my heart in so many ways, because you connect to people from different regions and they have completely different opinions and political views and things like that. So, it's actually, I find joy to kind of find people who are different from me and connect to them and, learn themselves about them. I mean, of course, I have a feeling of excitement. I think everybody who, has something live, it never goes away, but I know it's just a feeling of being alive rather than nervousness.
Okay.
And also, I had one little follow-up question though, but just to finish that off. But for for people looking to the start the not even just stand-up comedy, but acting or any profession, a lot of people looking to get into or looking to start the start that profession or any line of business are usually afraid of failure or afraid to fail. It's usually a concern that rests in people's heads. What kind of advice would you have for someone to get past that or move beyond it?
Well, first of all, you'll never stop failing, no matter where you are in life. So this is the thing that you have to kind of acknowledge. And you have to welcome failure. You have to fall forward. So that's the way, we use it. You can't do anything without failing. For actors, when you go, a lot of times we have to go to auditions and you just have to be open. Once you love failure and have a relationship with failure and kind of move past it, you use it as a fuel and as a lesson, and you're glad, I think you welcome, you welcome that. And I think the most successful people fail the most honestly.
Right.
That's incredible. That's
Eugenia, I was just going to ask you, have you ever, are you still starstruck, and who is your favorite celebrity that you've met so far?
Yeah, starstruck. I never understood the concept, even though like when I wasn't in the business, I actually remember I crashed like Angelina Jolie's party with my friend. I know, yes. I was like, okay, whatever. We just came to have fun. I didn't even know that, it was like a business thing, but I was silly at the time. I have some people that I respect. I think for me, the most important thing is like, no matter who you are, is a good person, and how you treat people like on set, like the people who clean, the floors or whatever. That's for me like an inspiration, and it's somebody I admire. One of the people I think I really love is Keanu Reeves, because he's just so humble and such an inspiration of a person who's been through so much, and is, just an inspiration for, being connected to people and not disconnected in this sense.
He's a genuine person.
Exactly.
He there's been photographs of him here in New York City. He takes the train just like everybody else. He's there's like videos of people that have captured him in, just in public, and he's a person, he's a humanitarian. He does a lot of things without people even realizing that, put a lot of his time to help other people. So I agree with that. He's a very down-to-earth person. He's one actor that I admire a lot, because he has that balance. And one of the interesting things about him is, even when he's been interviewed, he's gone through a lot of a lot of pain, a lot of sorrow, and I guess he channels his experiences with that to balance out and being humble individual as how he is, apart from just being a well-known celebrity actor. So that's someone that I admire a lot and look up to, because it's people like him that still gives it still gives us hope for the rest of us to be able to be like that as well.
It takes certain consciousness, because once you reach a certain level of success, there's so much attention to things that people project onto you, that it's really to kind of sustain that consciousness.
Absolutely. So Eugenia, I have one final question for all of our our listeners, viewers that are out there. Where can they find you if you want to disclose any like social media or any place where they can follow
It's
you?
so funny, because like I think these days we're so connected. Like you Google anybody's name and you can find it. But well, a lot of times some girls who start out modeling, they reach me on Instagram chat, and like if it's really genuine, like request to some kind that they need, I usually try to help them with like anything career wise and else. My website, and I have like a publicist and agent. Just I think it's important to protect kind of your personal life sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think Instagram, or you can reach.
Yeah, no. I asked because just if people want to disclose, if they have certain social media handles that they are comfortable sharing out. So that's why I ask if people want to follow you, if you had a social media. Some people don't, which is cool too. But just wanted to know. And ladies, Relisha, Desiree, will find you and also follow your segment.
Okay, you guys can find me at momswhogrind.com or momswhogrind.org. All social media is Moms Who Grind, and then my personal page on Instagram is at Relisha Monet. That's RelishaMonay.
Hi, Desiree Kinney again. And actually right now it's exclusively, if you can follow me at Women in Business Rock on my Instagram. We'll be debuting our upcoming air times for July for the Work Your Money podcast, and then obviously for our individual segments. So stay tuned for Women and Men Who Business Rock, Women and Men in Business to Rock. And I'm very, very excited to share tips and up one during 19 and beyond.
Led, what about yourself? Where can people find you?
Well, you can find more information about me online. You can follow Jet Pulse Comics on Instagram and also on Facebook, or you can head directly to the website, which is www.jakejetpulse.com, and take a look at the online workbooks and fun activities based on Jake Jet Pulse, the character which we created.
And everyone out there, if you want to follow the Work Your Money podcast, you can follow us. I believe Facebook and Instagram, they're both Work Your Money podcast. If you want to follow us on to our website, it's workyourmoneypodcast.net. Thank you, Eugenia, for being on the show with us. It was a great pleasure. A lot of insight, a lot of great information that you gave us. Very interesting to hear about your journey into where you were as a teenager to where you are now. So, you know, a lot of praises, a lot of respect for what you do, you know, being comedian, model, actress. You do it all. Like before, you're a role model to a lot of young women that can look up to you and see all the great things that you do. Definitely would love to have you back on the show and talk about other dynamics of women in business, mom in business. So guys, until the next time, this is the Work Your Money podcast. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. It was very lovely to talk to you.
Yes, connecting.
You're wonderful.
Thank you.
Likewise.
I'll follow you everywhere.
Yes, no, definitely. I'll speak to Ruthie to connect you and when we can have you back on, because I really love your energy and all of the great information that you gave. Like, really, you're inspirational.
You too, guys. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Bye.
I know.
Bye.